Okay, let's start. This is what a new session looks like. The first thing we have to do is to adjust the tempo because we make an up-tempo song, so 138 BPM should be fine. And next thing we need for making a kick drum is a decent drum instrument from the library, the MuLab. For a better overview, it's better to give a name to the different parts. And even if there are tons of samples available, I think it's necessary to know how to create your own bass drum, so we will start here absolutely from the scratch. First we create a little sequence here which contains the trigger notes for our little bass drum, and don't forget to name everything correctly to stay organized. Another good method to keep the general overview is to give every track a color or every part a color. So here we will insert on the C note a few trigger notes for 4 on the floor type bass drum. And now we're good to go for the sound design. 90% of a bass drum is nothing but a pitch modulated sine wave. To achieve this in the MuDrum, we enter the max part. First we have to insert the polysynth to be able to play the bass drum polyphon. We make the connections and enter the module by double-clicking. No need for the filter module, so we delete it. Because we deleted the filter, we now have to make the audio connection from the oscillator to the amplifier. This top envelope we connect to the pitch modulation input, so we rename it to pitch. This will give us the attack of the bass drum and route it to the pitch connection of the oscillator. To set up this pitch envelope, we enter the module and we set the decay time to a very short amount with 0 attack. The overall global level we have to set a little bit lower to about 87% with 0 sustain and a short release time too. This will give us a very snappy short attack phase of the bass drum. For the amplifier envelope we have to set about the same values, only the decay time we make a little bit longer to about 500 milliseconds. Okay, now it's time to set up the oscillator. First we need a pure sine wave. Second we have to set the velocity level to 0, we don't need this in this kind of genre. Pitch modulation for the moment I turn off, but we have to lower the octave. We're talking about the bass drum, so we need to lower the overall sound about 2.5 octaves. So this sounds already more like a bass drum. But we still need a harder attack, and to reach that we have to set the pitch modulation to a very high amount of 4000 cents. And what this does is it raises the pitch of the oscillator very fast, nearly 4 octaves higher, and fall down in about the 20th part of a second. Okay, this already sounds more like a bass drum. One issue you will notice is that you will hear sometimes a little click loud and sometimes not. At the moment the oscillator is in free run mode, means that the phase starts randomly. For making a bass drum it's better to have a fixed phase. To set this, in the options edit properties, set a phase of 90 degrees. This setting makes sure that the start phase of the oscillator is always on the highest point, at the maximum of the amplitude, which gives us a little click sound at the beginning of the bass drum, no matter when the oscillator is triggered. Okay, we got our basic sound. To bring a little bit more punch into it, we insert after the polysynth a little bit of saturation, an effect inside of the MuLab library. Because it's an insert effect, we have to interrupt the connection between the polysynth and the audio output and put the saturation in between. We make the settings a little bit more neutral, and then we're adjusting the drive by listening to the kick. You can already hear the sound getting a little bit harder. When you have made some adjustments, it's always a good idea to turn the effect on and off to hear the difference between the dry and the wet sound. But we need another type of attack for this kick sound. For this we load the fat snare out of the MuLab library into one of the sample slots. This is a very long sound, so we have to turn down the decay. We want only to have a little bit at the attack of the sound. Turning down the volume a little bit. And the release. I want to add the third type of attack phase for our kick drum into the first sample slot. Therefore I use the electro kick out of the factory library. Here I only want to have the attack part 2. And as you can see here, it's all about fine adjustments. You have to try and try, turn it on and off to see the difference in the sound. And even if something doesn't make any sense to you at the moment, believe me, when it comes to the effects and the mixing of the kick, some aspects will become more clearer then. That's for now. See you in the next section.